Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hello. Welcome to Candid Conversations from the Single Place. I am your host and your girl, Stephanie Renee, and I'm so glad that you have tuned in to join us tonight. We're excited about tonight. Tonight is our third round, y'all, of the Candid Conversations. And it's been a journey, but it's been a great one. Um, our idea is to do it every other Tuesday, but of course, your girl is pretty busy lately with a lot of different things, a lot of exciting things, great things, of course, but again, indeed busy. And so we've been having to kind of revamp and things of that sort. But I'm so glad that you guys have tuned in. For those of you who are on, I want you to go ahead and share this broadcast, this podcast rather, and let somebody know that we're on. Let the singles that you know that we're on. And we want you guys to tune in. I think it's going to be an awesome show. For those who have caught the other two episodes, you know that it's been quite interesting, quite fun. We've talked about some topics ranging from various perspectives, I would say, as I've had my guest or my other panelists on with me. And I'm excited to again bring to you two of those guests who've been with us. One of our third person won't be with us tonight, but we still plan to go on and we still plan to have a great time. So I hope you guys are ready. I hope that you are excited and looking forward to it. I just want to share a few announcements for those of you who may not know. I am going to be a part of a stage play on this coming Friday, April the 14th at 7 p.m. It's going to be at the Towers High School Auditorium. And it's really, really, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a great show. We have a great cast. The producer and writer is Miss Quinay Ford. For those of you who are in the Atlanta area, you know Bishop Quincy Carswell, who's a staple in the Atlanta area community, church community. And so we're looking forward to it. We're going to have an amazing, amazing time. And hey, we're almost sold out. The show is almost sold out. I think the theater holds a little bit over 400 and we're almost sold out, but there may still be some tickets available. So if you want to go on Eventbrite, look it up. It's called What About Jesus? You may be able to still catch a seat, but it's going to be an awesome show. So I've been busy with that, y'all. So I'm excited about that and looking forward to it. So again, I am so glad that you guys have tuned in. We're so excited to have you guys. And I hope that you are ready to have some conversations. For those of you who may have seen my Facebook post about this, my Instagram post about this, or even saw it on YouTube, tonight we're going to be talking about, I think, something that is a sticky subject for some, but yet indeed a good subject. And I'm going to, before I bring it up, I am going to bring on my guests right now. We're going to start with Miss Jerica. You all are familiar with Jerica. Say hello, Jerica.
Hi, you guys. So glad to see you again. I want to first apologize for my appearance. I'm on the sick and shedding list this week. I have tendonitis and I'm dealing with a cold. So your girl is struggling right here, but the show must go on. And hey, I'm gonna I'm gonna give it all I got tonight, just for you guys and just for my ladies.
Yeah, she's dealing with a little under the weather with a little cold, but um, I think she's gonna be all right. We're gonna push through. So I'm excited to have you with us tonight. And our next, of course, he needs no introduction. For those of you who have been tuning in with us, you already know uh, how crazy he is, but in a good way. We love him. So glad to have him back. And we're talking about none other than Mr. Mark Fortson. He calls himself Kevin Samuels 2.0. Say hello, Mark.
What's good? What's
I'm
good?
actually clapping for you tonight.
Are you
Tonight.
Jericho? Listen, you know what? God ain't through with you yet, Jericho. You know He's still in the miracle working business. Come on,
That's right.
because I'm praying for you because you just said you got tendonitis.
Tendonitis.
Girl, you too young to have tendonitis. You ain't even 40 yet. What you talking about
I had
tendonitis?
to put too many people in a chokehold.
See that what I'm talking about right there. That violent disposition. I'm praying, Lord. I'm praying. Fellas, beware. Beware. Lord have mercy. That's a red flag.
Well, I want to welcome you both again. Y'all, these are our two that are always going back and forth with each other, but we love them anyhow. We're missing our girl Angela Harris tonight. She's busy
Miss you,
with other
Ange.
things, and we're missing her tonight, but we're looking forward to having her back with us real soon. But again, we're so glad to have both of you on. And we're not going to delay. We're going to get right into this. So tonight, for those of you, again, who checked out my Facebook post and my social media sites and all, you saw what the topic is for tonight, and that is she is too masculine for me. Okay. And we kind of added we talking about the boss chick, what is quote unquote deemed as the boss chick these days and times. So we're gonna talk about it.
Right
I was told by a friend to watch a video by Miss Iyanla Vanzant, and basically she was just talking about the lost art of femininity amongst women, how a lot of American women particularly we have lost our sense of femininity in a way because of, for some, like I said, would say the boss chick mentality. So tonight, I want to start off first by asking both of you all, when you hear the word boss chick, and we'll start with the ladies first, so we'll start with Jerka. What do you connect that to? Like, what does that mean for you when you hear that word boss chick?
For me, I hear a woman that's very goal oriented, that's purpose driven, that's highly I don't want to say competitive, but driven in a sense of they know their purpose, they know what they're going after. Unstoppable, those are the words I think of. Someone handling business, someone making moves, whether it be in education, career fields, entrepreneurship, a woman that's maybe holding the house down as well as entrepreneurship, or that's what I think of when I hear the term boss chick or boss woman. I don't necessarily, I'm almost 35, so I don't necessarily hear boss chick a lot, but I understand the terminology.
Oh, so you say you haven't heard it a lot?
I don't in my group don't hear the term boss chick a lot, that terminology, but I get it. I understand it.
Okay. All right. So for you, it has a positive connotation to it. It's not, you look at
Absolutely.
it as a good thing. Okay.
I see
All
myself as a boss chick, so I don't see
okay. All right. Mark is already laughing. All right. So Mark, your turn. When you hear the word boss chick, what do you connect it to? What does it mean?
Well, first of all, let me just say it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. But I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, man. When I hear the term boss chick, all that is just a woman with a chip on her shoulder, and she make a little bit of money, and she got a chip on her shoulder. That's all that is.
Oh,
Okay.
is that
Huh?
Is that your sincerest answer?
Yes, it's a woman with a chip on her shoulder. A woman who walking around with this sense of I gotta prove myself. And I get it, but who are you the boss of? When somebody's a boss, usually you got people working up under you. So you sure ain't none of my boss. So whose boss are you? I'm not finna refer to you as no boss chick. You don't pay my bills. You don't sign no checks. The only the person you the boss of is your children. That's it.
Not children.
And any man, that's right, children. That's my people from Fitzgerald, Georgia. That's how they say it. They say children.
But what about the women who actually do have employees under them?
Right.
Okay, well, you're called a supervisor. That's what you are. Yes.
If you're the owner of that establishment and you have people working under you, you are the boss.
No, well, you're the owner.
boss.
but you don't run. You are my supervisor, owner, or whatever from the hours of
Boss.
however long I work there, because I have a female supervisor, and I listen to her. You know what I'm saying? But when that clock strike 5, and then she younger than me too, she ain't lived, and so I'm like, you know what? She tried to give me life advice, and I make it a point never to take life advice from people younger than me. I just don't. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that. But you know, I but yeah, that's a
That's
one a
interesting.
boss about yeah. I don't take life advice from people younger than me. For what? What you gonna tell me? I don't already know.
Okay,
You know,
so
I'm 43 years old. Here comes somebody. But anyway,
Uh,
yeah.
so you look at it in a negative sense. Okay. So what about women who don't? Because a lot of times when that terminology is um placed upon somebody or that label is given to somebody, it's generally not the person per se. Some women will entitle themselves or call themselves a boss chick. But a lot of times people will see their accolades, their status, their success, what they're doing, and title them that. So it's really like other people give them that title more so than they give it to themselves in a sense. I mean, of course, I know, the phrase and the catch or whatever, people, I'm a boss chick and things, but I mean, overall, from what I understand, it originated from other people seeing, women being successful on top of their game, as Jerka said earlier. Maybe they're being successful in their business, they're a business person, or they're running their household very well, they're managing things. It just seems from the outside they got it going on, and so people like, man, that's a boss chick. So I don't necessarily think that, like I said, women just title themselves out of off the bat.
Right.
Other people will, give them that.
I ain't never, Stephanie. I ain't never heard nobody just look at another chick and be like, "That's a boss." Now, from my understanding, what you describing, now I have heard women say, "Well, that's black girl magic." You know what I'm saying? She doing her thing. But anytime I've heard somebody say a boss chick, it's always the person referring to themselves as that. I ain't never just labeled nobody a boss. Even with men, look at Rick Ross. He labeled himself a boss. Ain't nobody just volunteered to call him that.
Mm.
So that's, like I said, my perspective is it's the people labeling themselves a boss. And like I said, I see it as somebody who feels like they got something to prove, or they got a chip on their shoulder for whatever reason. Hey, go
Do you
you
think the same way for a man who calls himself a boss? Because I know
yeah.
a lot of men that call themselves, I'm a boss, I'm a boss.
Absolutely. If you have to assert yourself as this faux boss, as this fake boss, then yeah, even men. Like I said once again, who are you the boss of? Because you making some moves, because you making a little money. That's cool. Yeah, we all within it. If that's the case, we all bosses then. I'm a boss, you a boss, everybody a boss. You get a boss, you get a boss. You know, let's pass that title around like water.
Okay. So you saying that title generally is connected to a woman, you said, who has a chip on her shoulder. So do you feel like women who are titled that or feel like they are a boss chick, do you think they operate more in a masculine role?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because think about it. Even the term boss is a masculine term. When you think boss, let's be honest. Because growing up, when you heard the term boss, or my boss, you never thought of a female being in that role. When we were growing up, when we were coming up, a boss was always some old mean spirited man who, didn't have no sympathy or sensitivity, but he was in charge. So yeah, it is a masculine term. It's a masculine role. Now you can be in charge, and if you are in charge, whether you're a man or a woman, I will honor your position as the person being in charge. But being a boss don't just make you some kind of leader or captain of industry.
Okay.
You got to earn that.
But what if you
You know,
actually are, is what I'm saying. I mean, it's a lot of literal female women bosses out here now. Now, Angela says in the comments that she heard one woman say, who was truly a boss, that real bosses don't even call themselves a boss. She doesn't call herself that.
Exactly.
And Angela says, I actually don't think a lot of serious bosses use that term. So I think, like Stephanie said, it goes back to most people see a person and call them a boss, or that's a boss chick, or that's a real boss out here in the streets, like, or a boss in business. I think most people bestow that title onto someone else versus a real boss calling themselves that. And I think that you do have a lot of real women bosses out here. We are leading in entrepreneurship. So, I
and that's
mean,
right. And I give you that. But let me ask you something. And I give you that. But let me ask you something. Have you ever heard Oprah Winfrey or Michelle Obama or what's Angela Bassett, Viola Davis, all these people, who really in a different tax bracket? Have you ever heard and one of them women refer to themselves as a boss? You
Right.
never heard them say that. But it's always the woman. Okay, she went over here and flipped the house, or she sold a house today. I'm a boss. Or she went over here and she made some kind of little transaction worth a few $1,000s. I'm a boss. That's not a boss to me. You're just
Right.
working.
But that goes back to what I said earlier, is that, again, like you named those women, they don't refer to
we don't
themselves
know what they said outside of the camera.
and that's true on the side of the camera, but other women have looked at them and referred to them as bosses. That's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes it's not the person giving themselves that title, even though, yes, women do it, like, I ain't gonna say some women don't be serious about it, but in a fun type of joking type of way, someone, I'm a boss chick or whatever the case may be, or they actually may really, believe themselves to be a boss. But again, going back to what I was saying earlier, a lot of women will refer to, I don't know if men necessarily do it, but I know women will, look at a woman and say, hey, she doing her thing. She's on top of her game. She's successful. She's making things happen. That's a boss chick. That is, overall, how, from, like I said, from my experience and what I've seen and things of that nature, what I've witnessed, how people have done it. Other people look at it and say, hey, that's a boss, whatever, she's on top of her game.
So P in the comments wrote, boss definition is a person who is in charge of a worker, group, or organization. So technically, if you said, use the term, a woman, she's only bossing her household, technically that is a group. That is.
No, I'm talking about. You said, so you think the woman who runs her household is a boss?
When I go by the boss definition, the literal definition, it says a person who is in charge of a worker, a group, or organization. A family.
Okay, so in your household, a family is a group.
Correct.
Okay, so does boss take the place of parent?
Because no, when I think of, when I'm talking about group, doesn't take, but
yeah,
you are a leader over your children. You're not equal to them. So
right.
And in essence, that is almost the same thing. Now, you're not necessarily a dictator over them. In some households, that's how it's ran. But that is up to the boss of the home how to run their home.
But you as a parent, you dictate what your children do because they can't fend for themselves. So you can call it dictatorship, you can call it a leadership position. I call it being a parent. I don't necessarily refer to it as being a boss, because like I said, a boss is different than a leader to me. A boss is just somebody in charge, and they have to assert their position all the time. To me, that's what, when I think about a boss, somebody who just has to always assert who they are and what they are. And that's when I hear a lot of women saying, well, I'm a boss chick. I'm a boss chick. Well, what makes you a boss chick? Because, like I said, because you made some of the trivial transaction. You got a promotion.
Well, why trivial transaction to them if that?
Because it's trivial. It's trivial compared to women who really, like I said, the women I named, is trivial compared to them. Women who can legitimately call themselves
started somewhere.
Okay, but
Oprah started at a smaller, catching smaller checks. She started as a news anchor.
Okay.
There's levels to it. There's levels to being a boss.
Right. Absolutely. What about the Instagram models who all they do is sit at home and take pictures all day and refer to themselves as bosses because they getting some little OnlyFans money, or they just got a is it blue chip or whatever on Instagram? They got a blue chip and they calling themselves bosses.
Blue check.
That's what I'm saying. That term gets used so cavalier. People are so
I
cavalier
agree
with
with
that
that.
term.
I can agree with that. Um, but again, like I said, I think my mom says it's a slang term. I think in these days and time, it is almost like a slang term, almost like queen. It's like people have turned the terminology queen into like a slang term, like everybody's queen and queen,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody is not a queen. They don't exhibit queen
Agreed.
characteristics. So I agree with
Agreed.
that. But however, just to play the devil's advocate, if that person chooses to affirm themselves by calling themselves a boss or queen, or however they refer to themselves, and affirmation to themselves, that's their own prerogative. Now, whether I have to view you as a boss or refer to you as a boss is my prerogative. But I mean, are we upset that somebody calls themselves a boss that necessarily isn't a boss?
Mm-mm.
I mean,
Not upset, but here's the thing: when people refer to themselves as a boss, generally they want you to feed it. They want you to subscribe to that same thing. They want you to feed into it as well. And women who get on social media, call themselves bosses, or they get on TV, or whatever platform, they want feedback. They want validation. They need it. They thrive off of it.
That's not
That's why they
every
call
woman's
themselves.
case. That's
Now
not
that
every,
okay, but I'm saying every woman that gets on social media, that gets on a particular platform, and they have to assert themselves as a boss. So I'm a boss chick, or I'm a or the term I'm a bad you know what. You know what I'm saying? That ain't that. All that's doing is just asserting yourself, but you need validation from others in order to solidify it.
what, but again, going back to my point, what if they don't necessarily turn themselves that, other people turn them there? I mean, but they don't have that spirit, and they don't have an arrogant spirit, because I think the idea is that every woman who some may consider being a boss chick is automatically a view, oh, she's aggressive, oh, she's too. And so sometimes men will look at that woman like she's gonna be too hard to deal with because she thinks she's a boss chick and stuff. But that doesn't always mean that every woman who's making moves or doing
right.
things or being successful has an arrogant, obnoxious, type of disposition about herself. She can actually walk in a spirit of humility, but she just walks in confidence, because I think some of the terminology has been, people are using it in the sense of confidence. It's not, I don't think it's geared. I mean, I can agree to some of your points in that, yeah, some people do take things too far, or they take it to the head and they think, nobody can tell them nothing. I've seen, women that are like that, but that's not, overall everybody's story or everybody's mindset about it. Some people can actually walk in humility, be cool or whatever, but just know that they're confident in who they are, what they do. And that was going to lead me to my next point: is, are men intimidated by women who, like you said, you have a woman supervisor, whatever? Are men intimidated by a woman in power, a woman in authority, a woman who has in a position to make decisions and things of that nature? Do men get turned off or annoyed by that, or view that as a negative thing?
No, and like I said, I can only speak for me, but no, I'm not intimidated by a woman in power. I think it's a beautiful thing. If you, like I say, and this goes for men or women, if they know what they're doing, and they're making sage decisions and things like that, hey, I give you all the respect and honor that you are due. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, my supervisor, love her to death. Like I said, you know what I'm saying? And she makes great decisions and things like that. So, and I'm not at all intimidated by her or nothing like that. She doesn't walk around like that. And so it's number love and respect. But when you have the ones, like I said, you do have some that feel like can't nobody tell them what to do. They in charge. And especially ain't no man gonna tell them what to do. You know what I'm saying? They don't need permission to do nothing, and this, that, and the third. Yeah, that makes me feel like, okay, we're gonna have an issue when it comes to, who's the head of this family, or who's the head of this household. Absolutely. If you a boss at your job, fine, I give you that. But don't bring that energy home.
Yeah.
because you're not my boss.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can
so yeah.
I can agree with that. I think that, women, nowadays are in, God has blessed and opened doors for women to be able to operate, in positions and stuff that years ago, they never would have been able to do so. And so I think that, there is a balance because
Right.
as a woman, of course, you do have to know how to, when you come home, allow a man to lead. And I think, and this is I was looking at the Dear Future Wifey podcast event that they had, this big event that they had here just a few weeks ago at New Birth. And one of the things that was stated by one of the women on the panel is that I think the idea is that just because a woman is a boss or whatever on her job, or she run things, or she's her own businesswoman, that woman automatically wants to be a boss when she gets home. And the fact of the matter is that's not always the case. I mean, yeah, you do have women who deal with control issues and things of that sort, but at the end of the day, most women that I know and that I've heard will tell you, like, when I get home, I want a strong man that can be able to make decisions and run the household and lead. But that also is based on if the man is showing that he has the capability to lead effectively, and that you ain't just like leading us down a ditch or whatever. You know how to handle things. I think sometimes women will jump in when it looks like, okay, he don't know what he's doing. And I guess that goes back to, well, you have to make sure you're choosing somebody that you believe can lead and run your household well. But in essence, I think most women, we want to operate in our feminine energy. We want to operate, delicate, and we want to be able to be that feminine role in the household. And so it's not always every woman's idea that, oh, when I get home, I want to run this house, I want to run him and tell him what to do. Now, there are women that are like that, but in a lot of cases, shoot, by the time you come home from work and you didn't been dealing with all of that and everything, and you dealing with all of these situations that you got to resolve at work, and then you got to come home for those who have children and do that, you really do want to take that hat off and let somebody else do it. And of course, we are talking to singles, as we're all single on here. Like, I will be grateful when the day comes when I'm able to be able to have a man in my home that, hey, like, if the faucet breaks, baby, you worry about that. I ain't got to worry about that. I mean, of course, I will get in and help and do what I got to do, roll up my sleeves and all that. But at the end of the day, some of that responsibility and having to make all the decisions, you want to lay that down at times.
Yeah, my superpower is
You,
I'm calling the plumber. That's what I'm doing. I ain't fixing nothing.
as long as we
I
know
don't
it's
fix
done,
stuff.
and I can speak, and I'm going to speak for all. Well, I can't speak for all women, but I'm going to speak for most women, because I myself can honestly say that I carry a lot of, or operate in a lot of masculine energy that people say, because I run a household, I work, I get the, like they say, I bring the bacon, I cook it, I fry it up, I do it all, paying the bills, budgeting, I running a household, running work. So I operate in a lot of masculine energy because all that is on me. Repairs, anything, I can do a little bit of everything, almost like the jack of all trades. And most women, we do not want to operate in masculine energy. We want to be able to operate in our feminine energy, but it takes, like Stephanie said, a great leader of a man that sees this. And a lot of times men do complain a lot that they don't want to be able to do this and do that. But if men are the leaders, and this about women, and most men know this about women that they consider masculine, is that they don't want to carry that burden. We will be glad to lay it down, at any point, but you have to have great leadership qualities to show us, especially a woman that has been operating on her own for so long. You have to show us that you can carry the load, really, honestly. But most women want to lay it down. Most women don't want to operate in masculine energy.
Here's the issue I have with your opening statement, Jericho. You said I operate in masculine energy because I do this and I do that and everything falls on me. Well, my question is this: why does that have to be Why does that have to be regulated to masculine energy? Why can't that just be responsibility? You
Well,
know,
there's a certain thing as responsibility. Yes, it's responsibility. There's a certain thing as responsibility, but then there's another thing when there's a load on you, and when you have, because you don't have kids, so when you have children, and uh, when you're responsible for everything, honestly, like any repairs in the home, I'm fixing water heaters, I'm cutting the grass, I'm paying the bills, I'm budgeting, I'm planning out
okay,
the
who,
future of the family. Like that's
okay,
typically
who,
male role.
but who put you in that position though, Jerica?
I put myself in that position. And
Okay,
not only did I put myself in that position, but the men that I chose to bring in my life and the men that want to be in my life did not choose to stay and take on their responsibility.
But
So
let me just
it's a
say,
no,
twofold.
no, let's not blame. Let's not play the blame game now.
but let me
No, that's
say
not
this.
the blame
You,
game.
But let me
okay,
say this: it don't have to necessarily be that because me as a single person, I don't have children or whatever. So it's not necessarily if you become an adult and of age and nobody you have not found the person to connect with to marry, that automatic. I'm not saying it push you in a masculine role. I do like what you said, the comment that you said about responsibility. I'm not going to say it puts you in a masculine role, but it does put you in a situation where you've got to run things and you got to make decisions and things of that nature. And from the viewpoint of others, sometimes it can I will say this, sometimes it can cause a woman to be a little bit more aggressive, because when you're dealing with, for a prime example, and I think me and my sister was talking about this the other day, for an example, as a woman, when you go into a mechanic shop, you have to kind of, it's almost like an unsaid, unspoken thing. You have to kind of come with a little bit of aggression, because it's ideally, or in past times, it's been, most people know sometimes as a men see a woman coming in a mechanic shop, she might not have a dude or whatever that can do this for her. So sometimes they will get over on you. So you got to come like with a little bit of aggression, like, look, I know what's going on. I know what I'm talking about. Give me the right prices. Don't try to, overcharge me or try to get over on me. Because so when you go out into the world, sometimes people can look at you as, in a sense of like, you're gonna be weak or whatever. And so you automatically kind of take on this approach, like I gotta be strong and I gotta let
but
no games.
but Stephanie, you're already on the defensive. Why? And let's change the language. Why does it have to be? I have to show aggression versus assertiveness, or I have to show them that I know what I'm talking about. That, because see, aggression is different from being assertive. You
But
know what I'm
some
saying?
people
And
look at
if
assertiveness as
you,
aggression. I
right,
mean,
okay, well, if it depends on how you display it, but here's the thing: you can't always be on the defensive or just automatically go on the defensive when you think you're about to enter into a space that's full of masculine energy. And I think that's the point I really want women to understand. If you're going into a male dominated or arena, or if you're going somewhere where it's going to be a lot of masculine energy, that doesn't mean, okay, automatically I have to be on the defensive, because men pick up on that. We pick up on you being defensive versus you being assertive. And I think that's the fine line we have to recognize.
okay. Well, some people will take being assertive as aggressive. Some men will look at a woman that's being assertive and they will misappropriate that as her being aggressive, rather than seeing like she's just standing up for herself or whatever. They will look at that as being an aggressive instead of an assertive behavior.
But how is her energy though? How is your energy when you go up to whoever you need to talk to, and you understand? I'll say, okay, they I'm a woman. They think and there's a possibility they think they might try to get over on me because I'm a woman. But let me show them that I'm no fool. And now here's the thing: what kind of energy are you giving? Are you giving the standoffish energy? Are you in a defensive posture? Are you rolling your neck, rolling your eyes? Are you telling me what they ain't gonna do? What you ain't gonna do is this? Or are you saying, okay, well, listen, I know that my transmission has been slipping because I know to listen for this particular sound, and plus it's been pulling like this. So I think it's a transmission, and I want you da. Like, so what kind of energy are you giving when you assert yourself?
Okay, I can get your point on that. I mean, because I do and have seen and witnessed, myself. Now, I don't approach it in that manner. Now, I have, at times had to, because I personally try to be fair or whatever the case may be. But I've had moments where I did have to kind of stand my ground and stand strong because I knew that somebody the guy was trying to play me, or I knew that he was trying to take advantage or whatever, thinking that I was ignorant about it, and I probably was because I don't know a lot about cars and stuff like that. But in the same time, again, and I wasn't rolling my neck, I wasn't doing all the popping and snapping and what you ain't gonna do and things like that. But
Right.
again, some men will still, even if you're being assertive and just putting your foot down and you're talking in a strong tone of voice, they'll think that that is being aggressive.
And that's true. But we're talking from a place of lived experiences as a woman, and how we have to carry ourselves in certain environments and situations so that we won't get conned or food or anything like that. So
Yeah.
many women I know, and a lot of women can testify that they have to know how to carry themselves in a more so aggressive or assertive. I think that's almost borderline. It's literally a thin line between aggressive and um, assertive. But most women have had to put themselves in a situation where they had to be that way. For example, every woman, well, most women have an experience of walking to the store or going in the gas station, and it be a lot of guys in the front, or whatever case may be, and they're trying to talk to you. And when you are trying to be, well, no thanks, or I'm not dating right now, they will actually turn aggressive against you, and you have to stand your ground to try to. It's almost like a safety mechanism, and most women have had to do this in the mechanic shop, at the grocery stores, at the gas stations, as a defense mechanism and as a safety mechanism for us to get back home. It's plenty of women that have been shot and killed by guys wanting to talk to them that got rejected from hurt egos, and we don't know that going in. So when we find ourselves in those situations, it's almost like a natural instinct to try to, I guess, toughen ourselves up in a sense to save ourselves. Really, that's what it is. It's a safety mechanism.
I want to read a couple of comments. I see Carl Butler. He posted a comment and he said, "I think men aren't intimidated by powerful women, but some women begin to take on masculine qualities that turn men off. I don't want to be with a woman that's just as masculine as me."
Facts.
I get that.
Angela
Facts.
said, "Running a household and raising children was literally created for two or more. It's a whole lot for one person, man or woman. It can be a load mentally, physically, emotionally, or financially."
And all
Okay, but
four.
right, but my question to that is, like I asked Jerica, does that require masculine energy, so to speak?
It does, because when you're in a single parent home, you are to have every child, and especially a male child needs somebody that they fear enough to respect. And when a father is not in that role, subconsciously, whether we try to do it or not, we're trying to play both roles. We're trying to balance. We're trying to be a nurturing mother and also a disciplinarian, where you would get that from a father. So it does require some masculine energy. And for me, having a teenage male son, I can't. Now, I'm sure there's other ways, but from my just lived experiences, I try to subconsciously play both, balance out both sides. If that makes sense. Like,
I
all of
feel
us humans have a duality. We're not just one solid thing. But
right.
we as women that are in that single mother role try to have that duality, and that masculine energy does arise. um, for me, I would say for me, and then I've always worked in a male dominated environment as well. So it's a lot of factors that plays into it. So I will say it is a lot of masculine energy that, unfortunately,
I,
Let me, Let me
I,
can I let me ask a question. Let me ask a question,
Mhm.
Steph. And because I res- here's the thing, I respect what you saying, and I respect where you coming from, Jerica, and I respect your perspective. But the sociologist in me is having an issue accepting the notion of it takes masculine energy. Now I agree with you. We all have a duality because nobody is just one thing. But let me propose this question to the both of you, as a matter of fact. Jericho, you said you're a single parent, and then there are a lot of single mothers, rather. There are a lot of single mothers who have to play both sides. Now, imagine if I were a single parent, if you got a single father, right? You got a single father, let's say he got a couple of kids, they live with him, he's raising them. Does it require feminine energy on his part to raise those kids?
In a sense, I would say this: it will have to bring out some of his more, if he's trying to be balanced, it will bring out some of his more nurturing side that's atypical of a male. It will bring out, especially if he has girls, if he's a good father, he would want to um bond with his girls in a way, which will require him doing some atypical male things that uh even when we were growing up, a man going to get their daughter's nails done was a feminine kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like, it wasn't seen like a guy pampering his daughters was not, it was a feminine kind of thing. It was more so, I bring home the bacon, and that was kind of it. If he's trying to, in these days and time of single father, if he's trying to be more balanced, then yes, it will require a more, what we call feminine energy, which we all have that duality in us
All right. So, like I was
already.
telling, okay, but what I was telling Stephanie, I said maybe we should change, maybe we should try and change the language because
Mhm.
I don't think it takes feminine energy. I think it takes a level of sensitivity, like you said, that may be atypical for a man. It
Mhm.
takes a level of sensitivity, a level of understanding that may be abnormal for a man, but I don't think I would label that as feminine. And I don't think I would label you paying bills and fixing things. I wouldn't label that masculine. I get it because we all grew up with gender roles.
Right.
But right, we all grew up with gender roles. Mama did this, daddy did this. But I think it speaks to the duality that, hey, you do what you got to do, and I don't know if I can put a gender qualifier on it. Is what I'm saying.
And
I
that's
don't think I can say,
maybe
yeah.
what the language that we're kind of
Yeah.
fixing up, I mean, mixing or interchanging, because we're
Mm-hmm.
saying masculine and feminine energy. And it's
Right.
probably, like you said, what is the word you just used? It slipped my mind. Gender roles is really
Yeah.
what we view as gender roles. Like, I think we're
Right.
kind of interchanging that because of
Mm-hmm.
how we grew up. I think we all grew up in the 80s. So, you know, those gender
Right.
roles were
Right.
still kind of set in place. So we're considering masculine and feminine energy now is just really gender roles that we've always
Right.
grown up with as the
Right.
stereotypical gender roles that men and women have. So you're right.
Right.
That's probably, we need to change the language on it.
Yeah, because I
Right.
think that, like you said, it's when you talk about earlier when we talk about assertiveness being viewed as masculinity, like that's the thing we have to kind of define what is real masculinity and what is real femininity, like.
Right.
And
Right.
just because certain behaviors are having to be displayed doesn't necessarily, or certain actions are having to be displayed, like Jerka saying, being a single mom or whatever, running a household, does that necessarily, does that equate to being masculine just
Right.
because you have a more of assertive role? I do want to go back to something that Penny said, and then call, and she said Black women are or already stereotyped as being aggressive. So being assertive can be taken as being aggressive easily with us. And I think that's true for,
Yeah. You
we
did say
have
that.
been
You
Very
said that.
true.
labeled a lot of times as being aggressive just because we have to be assertive. But I think
Right.
there's a way of being assertive. I think there, even in that, I think in everything, you just have to know how to present it. I think there is a way to be assertive, be heard, but not be overbearing. And I think what you were alluding to earlier, Mark, is that sometimes it can be too strong. It's like the neck rolling and this and not being able to still, because I think there's a way to be feminine and assertive at the same time, and still be a lady or whatever, and get your point across and be heard or whatever, and for somebody to know, I'm not playing games.
Well,
And
sometimes you just have to slap somebody.
See there, look at that. There go that violent. There go that violent disposition I was talking about earlier.
Sometimes you just can't be calm and cool and collect. Sometimes you have to.
I can see Jericho walking into the mechanic shop, kicking the door in, swinging a baseball bat. Y'all ain't finna overcharge me today.
You right.
Y'all just ain't.
Right.
Carl Butler said, when single men have to cook, clean, and take care of their kids, it's never said they are taking on feminine energy.
Right,
so is masculine feminine energy defined by duties or attitude and behavior? Well, I would beg to differ.
About gender roles.
I would beg to differ. I think it depends on how people view it, because I've heard people say that if a man is cooking and cleaning and stuff like that, they will subscribe that to being feminine or walking in feminine energy. It just depends on how a person view what femininity is and masculinity is.
Right. And like I said, we get it. We all of us grew up with both our parents, and we saw what our fathers did. We saw what our mothers did. But every now and again, my father would cook and clean, and he would wash the dishes, and he would vacuum and mop and make beds and stuff like that. Although he was the man. I mean, he was the head of his household. His name is on everything. But I saw him, do stuff like that. I've seen my mother get out in the yard and do stuff in the yard, you know what I'm saying? Rake leaves and do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, but I never viewed it as being abnormal, and I never viewed it as being, okay, she's acting masculine and he's acting feminine, because they didn't do it enough to be considered that. Like, they did it every so often just to show that, hey, like you said, that duality. We can play our roles, and then if we need to do something different, we can, or we have the ability to do so.
Okay. So, I want to bring up this point. Since you said they didn't do it all the time. Your mom wasn't in the yard all the time. Your dad wasn't doing it all the time. They showed duality. So I want to go to this point. Are there certain jobs that women should do and men shouldn't do, and vice versa? Like, for an example, women who now you have women that operate in DOT or construction. Like, are there certain jobs that a woman just shouldn't have and men just shouldn't have? Or how should that be viewed?
That's a slippery slope, because in 2023 we live in this I can do anything, or we live in this anybody can do anything type of society. Mm-hmm. Because in today's society, you can be, not only can you do whatever you want to do, but you can be whatever you want to be. You can identify with whatever you want to identify as.
Right.
So that's a slippery slope. Now, I will say this. I'm not going to regulate certain jobs to certain genders. Now, do I believe that there are certain jobs that take a lot of physicality that maybe a woman doesn't possess? Yes. But I'm not going to disqualify her from attempting to do the job. But I will say this, there are certain duties that a female should not have if she is living in the household with her husband. Like I said, taking out trash, mm-hmm. and cleaning gutters and stuff like that. No, I don't think a woman should be doing that type of thing. If there's a man there, if you got a husband there with you, my once I get married, no, my wife is not going to touch no trash. She's not finna get up on the roof and clean the gutters. Now, if she want to get in the yard, cool. That's, whatever. But it's just certain stuff she ain't gonna do as my wife.
Right, and I think I keep going back to what we're saying. Most things we're talking about is really gender roles, and I'm mostly a traditional person. So when it comes to certain roles, now like you said, I wouldn't necessarily disqualify a woman from doing any job or anything like that. But like Stephanie, I've always told you guys, there's certain roles that I feel like women should not have. I don't think that women should try to be equal to men in every job category or job level. I really honestly don't think that. I mean, I don't want to get counseled or anything, but one of those jobs is I don't feel like a woman should be a police officer. I really don't. I feel that's one of those jobs that require
Right. It
strength.
get grimy. Right.
Right. You and it really does. And it requires a lot of strength, physicality. You going up against other
Right.
grown men, like you're at more risk and more in danger. And I just feel like even that type of job is just not what a woman should take. But we're in that phase where a woman can do anything, and a woman can do anything, but I don't think you should do everything.
I agree with that. I agree with that. You know what? That's funny you should say that. And there are certain jobs I feel like a woman shouldn't do because she's a woman, but not from a sexist standpoint.
Right.
Like for instance, during the pandemic, I had a particular job, and I was a removal technician for the medical examiner's office. And so basically, that's just a fancy way of saying I was a body snatcher, for the coroner's office. That's what I did. I removed bodies from crime scenes and things like that, right? Mm-hmm. So I did this during the pandemic, and I did it for Fulton County. And we went to some really grimy scenes. Now, there was one girl that tried to work there. There's one girl that tried to work there, and she lasted maybe about 2 weeks. She lasted about 2 weeks, and she went on a scene where we had to pick up a baby, a child, and she lost it. She was like, I can't do it, because she got kids of her own. Mm-hmm. And I always thought to myself, while she was working there, I was like, I ain't trying to be sexist, but this ain't no job for no woman. Mm-hmm. We dealing with blood and guts and dead people and all type of stuff. And I just don't see no woman doing a job like that. Right. Now, we have female investigators. That's cool.
Right.
But I mean, actually handling bodies and blood and guts and stuff like that, I just couldn't imagine that. And I used to say, what would make her take a job like this? Mm-hmm. So I feel you on that.
Yeah, everything that you can do, you necessarily shouldn't do. And I just don't think that women should try to be equal to men on certain jobs, certain levels. I think, we getting in a society where, like you said, Mark, you can subscribe to anything. A man could be a woman could be a man, anybody could be anything they want to be. But is it profitable to the society, to the communities? Like, we should have gender roles. Like, there is male and there is female, and there are certain characteristics and traits that are naturally assigned to males, and there are some that are naturally assigned to women. And it's supposed to complement each other, but I think a lot of times we in this society are trying to compete with each other, and it's more detrimental to society to try to blur out the gender roles than it is to actually define gender roles and allow people to walk in that. Like,
I agree.
I think, I agree with, the both of you in regards to being able to define gender roles. I actually, in school, I just had to complete a research paper, and this is kind of going into like gender roles as it relates to ministry, because the topic was the challenges that African American women, face in leadership positions in churches. And I think that gender roles, of course, do need to be defined. And I do think that there are certain specific, responsibilities and I guess jobs and stuff like that maybe, are not, shouldn't be, or not the best for, women, and then vice versa. But I think some people would argue, well, how do we define what's what and which one should be? And, because like I said, I just did a paper about like women in ministry, and we know, like, for years, women weren't accepted in leadership roles in the churches and things. So I think some would argue the point of how do we determine what roles women can be accepted in, and what roles they cannot be accepted in, you know what I'm saying? Because going back to that leadership and people having the idea that women should not be able to tell a man what to do. Because like you were saying, okay, for an example, you were saying in your home, if you have a woman that's a boss at her job, but then she comes home, she can't be that boss in the home. But for a man who's on that job with her and who's working under her authority, his idea is he wouldn't want a woman to tell him what to do. But on this job, this woman is over you. But at home, a woman couldn't be over you. So it's like knowing how to kind of navigate those lines can be, I guess, challenging in some way.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You got to. I think you have to know how to turn it on, how to turn it off, or whatever. And like I said, with me personally, having grown up in church and everything, I'm a progressive thinker. You know what I'm saying? I believe women can be pastors, and I think there are a lot of women that are great pastors. They're awesome pastors. Yeah, there are some men who feel like, well, ain't no woman gonna tell me what to do. Like I can't, on a volunteer basis, there aren't a lot of men that I know that would just volunteer to go up under a female pastor. But I think that's more so of a cultural thing. Um, Women can be great pastors as long as you keep your feminine energy. And I think that's the thing we have to stress in church as well as society. Yes, you can be large and in charge, but maintain your feminine energy. I don't want a female pastor that's gonna act like a male pastor.
Right.
If you're gonna get up there, even in her preaching or her speaking, I still want her to maintain her feminine energy when she's speaking. I don't want you up there slapping the podium, preaching hard, and the Lord said, no, you ain't got to do that.
Yeah.
You really don't. You just,
Well, what if a woman just have that, like that just comes upon, she has like a little bit of that hawk,
Where did she get it from? She didn't get it from another woman. She is mimicking a behavior. She's not mimicking a spirit. And come on now, Stephanie, you and I both know that is a behavior. That's not necessarily a spirit. That's a behavior. That whole
I agree with that.
Yeah, that's a behavior.
But it's also what you see. You imitate what you see. That's why when parents say, "Do what I say, do it not as I do," children still.
But where did she get it from, Jerica? Where, if you see a woman hooping and hollering like that, slapping the podium when she preaching, sweating her palm.
I agree. I agree. She got it from the male pastors that she's seen growing up or that had to influence her, but not necessarily because there's a lot of women pastors that do the same thing. So,
and I will say this, as a woman, a female orator, whatever. Well, I won't say like you got to slap the podium, do all that, but depending on, that's just what any of us, if you talking fast or something like that, you trying to catch your breath, sometimes that just comes out automatically when you talking fast and you saying something, it's just coming, like you ain't trying to necessarily mimic anybody or do anything, but you're excited in that moment. It's an exuberant moment, and some people gonna sweat and some people gonna, because of course you have those who are more calm, have a more calm approach, but then there are some people who are more radical in their approach, in not just in the church, but just in general. You have some that are more just an excited person or more of an expressive person, where you have people that are more mellow and chill. So I won't, like you said, I won't necessarily subscribe it to it being the spirit. And I know for some of them who are watching might be like, well, we're talking about we're on the level of women in ministry now, like the femininity and stuff or whatever. So hopefully you guys understand. But yeah, so I think that it can be various things that play a part in that. But I do agree. I do think that women who do operate in leadership roles in the capacity of the church do still have to be mindful to not be so, like you said, step over to that overly aggressive, because I think men can in some way respect women more if they know how to still approach them from that feminine, feminine
yes,
manner.
Yes, absolutely.
But you did say, even if women operate in that, 9 times out of 10, men are still not likely to sit up under a woman, a woman minister more than a male minister.
Right. But I said that's more of a cultural thing.
Yeah.
That's the culture we come from. Is that men? It's especially church culture. And that transcends even the black church. We can go to a white church, Asian church, whatever you want.
I think
Any
that's all
denomination,
over the
right,
world in most
right,
places.
all over, right.
Yeah.
In most ministries,
And in all types of
religion,
religions.
right. I about to say in religions, period.
Yeah.
Men are seen as the head or whatever, and so you have a lot of men who come from a culture, us included, that says, hey, I can't sit up on no female. Because I mean, even when you read certain scriptures and how the Bible describes, like you said, what gender roles are and what a man is supposed to do and what a woman is supposed to do. And going back to even the scripture that says when a woman enters the temple, she is to be silent. You have some people that still subscribe to that.
Not really understanding the context and
what context, right? I was about to say the context of doing it.
Right, exactly. So, a woman had to have back, Old Testament, she had to have permission to speak. Even the queen needed permission to speak to her king. Look at Esther.
Esther, yeah.
Had the king not held out his scepter, she could be killed for speaking. You know what I'm saying? So, you got a lot of men that subscribe to that. So,
and not just men, you have a lot of women that subscribe to that because, like you said, it's cultural. And I've even told my sister and told me I can't see myself sitting under a female pastor. I think it's just a cultural.
Right. So is that more cultural? Is that more cultural, or is that a personal thing?
I think it's more cultural because that's typically what we've grown up with. Like you said, that's typically what we've seen. And and I've seen great women pastors and female pastors, but subconsciously I can't. Right. I don't know if I would be able to comfortably sit under another female pastor.
And when you say a female pastor, because you listen to, but you listen to a lot of women ministers, and you subscribe to a lot of women ministers. But so your thing is, you couldn't, if a woman is a pastor and she's pastoring her husband, that's a different thing. You can sit up under that long as she has a husband. But if it's a woman by herself pastoring, then that's a problem.
I don't think so. I think my traditional mindset and culturally what we have been accustomed to, especially considering the type of denomination that we came from, is just, it's almost like how we talk about being baptized in, even though we're progressive now, but it's still subconsciously like, even it goes back to what we were talking about being baptized in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, or Lord Jesus Christ. Even though I know progressively, you know what I'm saying, we have an understanding now that it's, we're saying the same thing in essence, but in my mind, I still feel a way when I hear someone being baptized in the name of the Lord. I mean, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, because that's just my roots, my upbringing. So that's why that goes back to a female pastor. Like, it doesn't matter if she's married with a husband, it's just not.
But I don't think that's true, because you set up on the people who their wives operated in ministry just as they did, but the pastor was, of course, I mean, the head of the church was the husband, but his wife co-pastor. We've been in churches like that, so I don't know.
I've been in churches like that. I have not been a member of any church like that.
Yeah,
you grew up in a church like that.
Who?
Faith Deliverance.
Mother Ramsey was the first lady. She was not necessarily co-pastor until Pastor Ramsey aged and he was unable to, he needed that help, but she was not like, he's the apostle, she's bishop. Like, that was not like that at all. That was not like that at all. And before then, we came from Church of Our Lord Jesus Christ, where it was
calling titles. I don't know if we should be calling titles on the World Wide Web. I mean, name.
Keep it apart.
Look, and we're just gonna put this disclaimer out there. Anything that we say is alleged. We don't. We ain't putting no. Unless we were there, we don't know. Alleged. Hey, we don't want to down the pipeline get sued about nothing.
Let me just put my disclaimer. I love all. I think a woman can do anything. Yes, it's 2022. Yes, let me put that out there. You can do anything. Aim high, baby. Aim high.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit.
I think this was a good. I think this was a good topic of discussion. And we were able to do it civil and
I know. You know
Because
what?
I wasn't feeling my best tonight. That's the only reason why.
Oh
That I did
Lord,
not.
let it be
But
sent.
no,
Let it be
but
sent
it's not
next
that.
week,
And I think
Lord.
too, because this subject we actually agreed more than we disagreed. If you really listen to us,
Yeah.
we actually agreed with each other more than we
Yeah.
disagreed.
It's scary, ain't it, Steph?
And very
It's
scary.
right.
Look,
It's
It
scary.
doesn't happen on the regular.
right, it doesn't. But I think
We'll
this
be back to normal.
right for the
We'll be back
next
to normal.
subject. What is the next subject? Because yeah, I actually agreed more with what you said this time. This time.
That's because you like Kevin Samuels. Deep down inside, I think you be feeling Kevin Samuels.
Deep down inside, I'm glad they rolled him on out and put him 6 feet up.
You know what?
We are not getting sued. These are not the thoughts of this podcast. That is an individual perspective.
I'm like, what's that? Toodaloo. That's all I had to say to Kevin Samuels.
You know what? You know what? That's all good.
That's mean. I don't subscribe to
that.
that.
Ain't that mean?
Yeah, regardless of people's, regardless of how people view, people's opinions going to be different. Of course, there were a lot of I agreed with things that he said. I just don't agree. I don't agree with everything he said. I agree with some things he said. I don't agree with most of how he said it. But you know,
a broken clock is right twice a day. Kevin Samuels was that broken clock. He said a few things right compared to the 99% of things he was wrong about.
I hope you dream about Kevin Samuels tonight. I do. I hope you dream about Kevin Samuels tonight. I do. I hope you have a dream where he has to come live with you for a little while.
I hope in my dream I'm the one that gave him the poison.
You cannot say that.
You
cannot say
the police
that.
gonna come and get you.
I'm sorry. I'm big.
I think his case is still open. They're coming to get you, Jerry.
Right. You cannot say that.
It's a joke, people. It's a joke. I'm sorry.
No. Listen, I would testify against her.
But you guys, y'all know I'm a strong advocate for Black women because I know our pain, our struggle, and what we go through. And I do not like for anyone to belittle, downtrodden, or muddle over the experiences of Black women. And Kevin Samuels is one of those people. And God bless his soul. May wherever he is.
Kevin was a boss.
Right. And so you don't have no problem with saying he was a boss.
Right. Even though he was not a boss of anything.
He was a boss. Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels, man. Listen, I love you, bro. I miss you.
I'm sure.
Pour one out for him. But make sure you point it that way, not up there.
Any more final comments?
Don't release no balloons. Just
any more? Look at I know, Carl. Total shock. I don't subscribe to that myself. I would never say that about the young man, but you know.
Well, in the Bible, the people that went against the people of God, they were wiped out, and they even prayed prayers for them.
Kevin didn't go against God.
Destroyed.
Kevin didn't go against God.
He went against God.
He went against them boss chicks. That's who he went against.
No,
God's women, right? He went against God's.
He went against them boss chicks.
Women.
That's not
God ain't elected you for nothing.
No, that's not necessarily true because he would give them down the country and all of this stuff about, you know, he went against a lot of women, not just women who subscribe to be bosses. Women who were humble, who were kind, who were saving themselves for marriage. He was like, "What are you saving yourself for?"
So, says the minister, you subscribe to that, and you just said earlier that you was in church praying earlier, but you subscribe to a man that would tell a virgin to give it up and throw it around in a circle.
I don't think he used that verbiage, but I mean, you know,
pretty much. Hang from the chandelier, all that kind of
thing. But I went to prayer tonight, and prayer works because you and I were agreeable tonight. So that means that means the Lord doing something. He'll do something for you. You gotta do it. Let him in, Jerry. Let him in.
So I guess your prayer does go higher than the ceiling, huh?
Ooh, no, listen, apparently I need to offer up some more prayers because yeah, see that's why you don't feel good. Because he knew you were gonna come with an
Oh,
attitude.
it's time to end. We about to go to the left. To the left, to the left. We about to go to the left.
That's why she don't feel good.
We've been on a good solid hour and 10 minutes. Are there any comments, any more comments from our viewing audience?
So glad to have you guys. I've been trying to watch the
Yes.
comments.
Yes, we're looking forward to more things. I will put this out there, and I just want to get the poll of those of you who may be on as we're building this podcast. One of the things that I would like to do, because I think, especially in the Christian single community, we, the I ain't gonna say limit of the dating pool, but I will say people being able to see what's out there and be exposed to what's out there as singles or whatever is limited. I would say that. And so one of the ideas that I do have maybe for the future, and you guys just let me know, and we'll give me a poll so we can kind of see, is having sometimes, not all the times, moments where we can come on and we can present different ones who would like to just put themselves out there and tell about themselves, and almost like a little dating show in a sense from time to time.
I want to go first.
They already know who you are, so they're gonna hit your inbox. They know where to reach you. But you guys let us know if that would be something that you would be interested in as we're building this podcast. Of course, we want to get more content out here. This is just our third round, so we have a ways to go, but we're planning on continuing this. And I think that the content that we're providing are real conversations and things that people think about and may not always express or do express them, and just kind of having this dialogue or whatever amongst men and women is our goal. Because I think a lot of times, again, I think I've said this in the very first beginning, a lot of times women are getting together in our groups and circles and little friend circles, and we talk about what we think men think. And then men, I don't know, men, if y'all do that or not, y'all might, but we do it vice versa, but we never really get together. We don't get together often to talk about what we really think. And I think that is, once we're able to start having a conversation, I think a lot of things can get resolved. A lot of misunderstandings can be corrected, and even wrongs can be made correct, or we can just simply come to a understanding that we agree to disagree. But we cannot do that unless we actually communicate and talk and have the conversations. And so I think that's why it's important, and that's one of the main reasons why I decided to start this podcast. And we're looking forward to go further and just put more content out here. And so yeah, you guys let me know if that would be something you'd be interested in the near future. Hey, you never know, you might find your boo thing.
I'm going first for real. Somebody.
Lord have mercy. Be sure you put your criminal report on your profile.
They can look me up on People Search.
Wow, you on that too? Aggravated assault, battery, terroristic threats.
Assault with intent to kill.
See what I'm talking about?
She need much prayer, much prayer. But anyways, it's been a fun show again, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us. We really appreciate it. You all continue to spread the word, let people know that we're on. And I know that we do get more who view us after the show is off. So we thank you all again, and we look forward to this again. If you guys have any topics and discussions that you want us to have, please feel free to let us know. We're looking to have some more guests on in the near future to come and join us on these discussions as well. So again, thank you guys. Mark, Jericho, do y'all have any more final words you want to share?
Hey, I love everybody, including you, Jericho, because I have to.
Just because you have to?
I have to. I have
Thank
to.
you, Carl. We appreciate it. Thank you. He says
Thank you,
good
Carl.
show. Thank you. That's what we're trying
Appreciate
to
that, girl. Appreciate that.
put some content out here
I just
that
want to say this was a good topic. This is a topic that comes up a lot, and a topic that was near and dear to me because like I said, I've always thought that I've been operating masculine energy, but really I've been doing dual gender roles. Really, and I think that's what it comes down to and boils down to. And I think that's okay. There's nothing wrong with gender roles. I think we need gender roles. But I think that there are some boss women, and I think that they absolutely deserve their flowers now. And I'm one of them. So
Well, let them go get their own flowers. They the boss. Get your own
they've
flowers,
been doing it
boss.
too long.
Jericho,
Mark.
I bet you could bench press about 215 for real, for real. You got all that
probably
masculine energy.
Mark, what are your final words, if any?
My final words is I ain't got no final words. I mean, yeah, everything was good. I'm so full and satisfied.
Yeah, satisfied.
I'm full and satisfied.
All right. Well, we thank you again for being on the show. Thank you for just all of your input and insight from the male's perspective. We just so appreciate it. And I will leave with this. I think that it is in the best nature for every person to live out the best person that they can possibly be according to, God's purpose and intent for your life. I think that as we strive daily to live out our best selves with the help of God, I would say, as a Christian believer, of course, then we can show up in the world better. We can show up giving more strength and more positivity to those first ourselves and then those who are around us and those who may come in contact with. I think ideally that you can't present a better you unless you are working on you to do so, and no one can receive the fruits of the best version of you unless you are willing to show up in that way. And so I think that each and every day, each person, each of us as individuals and as human beings on this earth, we have to strive. Of course, we're not going to get it right every day, every time or every day, but we have to be intentional about striving to show up as a better person than we were the day before. And I think that if we each do that and be intentional about it, this world could definitely be a better place. So those are my final words.
make it a better place.
Oh, Jesus.
You and for me.
Find your note. Find your note. Find it, Jericho. It's out there. It's out there somewhere. Go find it.
You made me cough.
Oh gosh. We're gonna try this again, y'all, next time.
Lord. Jericho done discovered a new note. It's called U flat.
Yeah, it's called Boss Chick Range.
Is that what it is? It's called U flat. It ain't even on the piano. It ain't on the keyboard. It's out there in space. Way out there somewhere.
Only royalty ears will understand, but good night, you guys.
Yes, good night. We love you all. Thank y'all for joining us again. Until next time, you all take care.
Jericho, I hope you sleep terrible tonight.
Oh gosh.
I'll meet you in your dreams.
Good night, viewing audience. We love you guys. Until next time. Bye.
Peace.